Welcome back, 5 Acre Farms. Got my ears lowered, got a nice shave going on. Tomorrow's auction day, so chicken auction season for us, which is a good time of year because it's a great way for us to offload a lot of birds we don't need anymore. But I got a lot to do between now and 7 a.m. tomorrow. So right now I need to build cages. So this auction in particular we go to, we can sell the birds without the cage. Most auctions sell the bird with the cage, so you have to make a cage that's up to standards. We don't like to make cages because it costs money and takes time, but we usually use our own cages at this auction. But we're going to sell a lot of button quail, and button quail sell a lot better if you make cages for them. So one of the cages we've made in the past is little baskets from Dollar Tree. We'll take cat food cans, put them in there, 2 of them, one for food and one for water, and then we'll take hardware cloth, cut up some hardware cloth and make a lid for it. So there's a lot of ventilation on these things, and it's perfect to hold about four button quail. Usually I do pairs, so 2 pairs of button quail in here, and then we'll zip tie the hardware cloth on. And then when we get to the auction, set all of our cages out, then I go back and fill all of them with food and water. So I'm going to make as many cages as I can, even though I think I have more quail than what I can fit in cages. I might put 3 pairs in each one. I only have so many little cat food containers, but that's what we're doing first. Tonight we'll catch all the birds in the dark, have them all loaded up, ready to go, and then we'll hit the road at 6 a.m. in the morning and try to get to the auction and get a good place in line. But last I heard, the price for chickens and any type of birds really is way up. So now's the time for me to capitalize on it. My farm doesn't run on hopes and dreams. I got to sell stuff so I can feed stuff. So time for me to sell off a bunch of stuff I don't need while the market's hot and hopefully get a few bucks out of it. And yeah, so let's build some cages. Well, it's time to go collect hatching eggs. That's one thing I sometimes take to the auction is hatching eggs. I stand behind my hatching eggs, and I only sell what I think to be highly fertile hatching eggs. Not everybody that takes eggs to the auction thinks the same way I do, but it is what it is. Hatching eggs are a big gamble at auctions, but most people at this auction know me and know the kind of hatching eggs I bring. So a lot of times mine bring a little better money because people trust in my eggs, but not always the case. I'm going to grab some goose eggs and duck eggs. Now I'm not taking those to the auction because I have a wait list on my Sebastopools and my blue Swedish, but I do have some eggs in here that I've been setting up to the side here. So the Sebastopools, usually when they make their nests like that, usually means there's an egg in there. They usually cover it up. So yep, there's one egg. Looks like just one egg. But like I said, I'm not going to sell these because I have a wait list. A couple of these were from yesterday. I got out of the way. These are some blue Swedish duck eggs. But those will go into our incubator. We're not going to sell those. Sometimes they lay over here, but it doesn't look like anything's laid there. So yeah, they're always cranky when I come and take their eggs. So My bar heads, I'm looking forward to those starting to lay. They don't start laying until usually May, so we got a little ways for them. And I'll let them hatch their own eggs. But the Sebastopools I'll hatch myself. All right, let's go check some more eggs. My Silky Pen, they've been laying really good. Sometimes they lay out here, but we have a Frizzle paint rooster, a splash rooster, over splash hens. We have a couple partridge hens, a black hen, a white hen. But yeah, we'll see how many eggs. These are eggs we will take to the auction because we have a ton of them in the we have a ton of them in the incubator, and we got a ton in here. So my little Frizzle paint looks like she's either laying an egg or going broody, but we're gonna have to take those from her. So let me get all those labeled and put in the basket. All right, that old girl wasn't very happy. She was going broody. You can see all the silky eggs here. The one she was sitting under, I put an X on. I won't sell those at auction because I don't know if she's been sitting on them for 2 or 3 days. I haven't been out here collecting in a while. So everything else that doesn't have an X on it, that's an X. So those will go into my incubator. I don't want to sell eggs that she's been sitting on because if they have developed, and then you take them off of heat for a couple days before the next person sets them, then they'll be dead. So I know these haven't been sat on, so they're good for up to a week. I don't sell anything older than a week because the vitality drops after about 7 to 10 days. So most of these will go to the auction except for the one she was sitting on. All right, on to the next ones. My next breeder pen is my Seramas and my French Black Copper Morans. Now, my French Black Copper Morans, if you don't know them, they lay a dark chocolate egg. I have a long wait list on French Black Copper Morans, so those do not go to the auction very often. I can always sell chicks. I have a bunch of Seramas. Oh, watch out, lady. Excuse me. I have a bunch of Serama chicks, so we'll take these eggs and take them to the auction. I don't think that lady was broody. So, all right. I gotta label all those so I don't get them mixed up, and then we'll keep collecting. Next set of breeder pens is my buff-laced Polish, my blue partridge Brahmas. So I'm not gonna sell these hatching eggs. I'll keep them and hatch them. Blue partridge are probably one of my favorite breeds. All right, let's see if they've been laying or not. Oh, one Polish egg. Oh, there's a couple over there. So, oh, the blue partridge Brahma are laying good. All right, let's get those collected. Next set of breeders are my salmon Faverolles. Then I have some light Brahmas over a red Brahma. These I won't sell hatching eggs because they're kind of a experiment, and I have a wait list on my Faverolles, so none of these will go to the auction. If you want to see a more in-depth video on our breeder pen setup, let me know, and I'll upload a video. But let's get the rest of these eggs collected and get them back in and get them in cartons and labeled. And a couple of these guys are going to the auction tomorrow because I'm sick and tired of them. Hopefully all 4 of the blue slates, and I'll keep the 2 black slates. So if I got the cage space for them, I'm taking 4 of those. I don't even care what they bring. Just tired of them. All right, back to work. I must say, These lavender Americana eggs are some of the prettiest blue eggs that I've ever had. So lavender Americanas, really pretty chickens, lay a gorgeous blue egg. Camera's not really doing them justice. They're like a teal color. That one's really blue. That's a full basket of hatching eggs. So we'll go start sorting them, what we're going to take to the auction and what we're not. So let's head over to the brooder building and get to work. Whew. It's getting warm out. 80 degrees. So I'm ready for a couple cooler days. So I use clear cartons for my hatching eggs, so people can see the eggs, and then I write on them. So I'm going to take a couple dozen button quail. I always write how old the eggs are, 1 to 3 days old, and then button quail hatching eggs. So I always use clear eggs so people can see inside of them. And most of my customers know that, or most of the people at the auction know that clear cartons with my writing are my eggs. Everything I'm not hatching will go on a tray, which is for the incubators. So let's get to organizing. It looks like we're not going to have a ton to take to the auction as for hatching eggs. I have a full dozen silky eggs, and I didn't have a full dozen Seramas, so I'm going to do 6 Seramas and 6 silkies. So everything else I need to put in the incubator and hatch, because I got a wait list on those. I just have a ton of silkies, so I have an abundance of eggs. But other than that, I'm going to take a bunch of these button quail, 4 dozen hatching eggs, a bunch of roosters, some tom turkeys, a couple pheasants, a bunch of roosters. Other than that, I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to take some pullets that are out at the Eggmobile. Those are worth the most amount of money they'll ever be worth right now. So I'm gonna go see what they bring at the auction. I may lose some money. I won't lose money for what I have into them, but it'd be interesting to see what a Rhode Island Red laying pullet at 2 weeks, been laying 2 weeks. So that chicken is worth the most amount it's ever gonna be worth right now. So I'm gonna see what they bring at the auction. Might take a couple Delawares. Other than that, everything else I kind of need to hatch from. And even though everybody keeps asking me, they want laying hens, they want chicks, I'm hatching them as fast as I can. I can't raise them into laying hens because everybody's buying them as chicks. So we're hoping to get some more pullets in another month or so to try to get all of our other customers taken care of. But we'll see. As of right now, I guess we'll see you later this evening after dark when we start catching everything. It's a lot easier to catch everything in the dark, so we'll get everything caught up and ready to go first thing in the morning. Headed to the chicken auction. Time to make some money. Pay for this feed bill. Alright, we'll see you guys this evening. Got quite a bit loaded up tonight. Got 2 blue slate toms over there, 3 Australorp pullets there, lavender Americana, buff Brahma, blue laced red Wyandotte, roosters, barred rock roosters, Erminet rooster, Delaware rooster, silky roosters, olive egger roosters, another blue slate tom. There's 3 Rhode Island red pullets in each of those cages, and that empty cage is going to be more roosters I'll catch in the morning. I got about 20 roosters to put in that cage. So that's what I've been doing for the last about hour, loading the trailer. I got a couple pheasants in the back of the truck, but those need a little different cage than everything else. So so I got a bunch of crates, or a bunch of button quail cages to load. I'm going to take some chicks tomorrow. Some of these chicks, they're about 3 weeks old, so they'll be all right. They have an office there at the auction house where we can put chicks in and then bring them out for the sale and then put them back until people are ready to leave. But I'm going to take 1 box of blue partridge Brahmas. I have 2 of these lavender Americanas. Those will go in 1 box. And then I have a bunch of Seramas. I have 8 Seramas, so I'm going to do 2 boxes of 8. So these are what my boxes look like. Lavender Americanas. We got our logo on the box. But yep, I'm going to take those chicks and then as many button quail as I can fit in there. So a lot of these little guys, all of those. There's a bunch in there, a bunch in there, a bunch in there. So we'll get all these, as many button quail as we can, loaded up, and then I'll leave them in here for tonight, and then I will put them in the truck in the morning. So let's get to loading. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10 cages of 4 apiece. So there's 20 pairs ready to go. In the morning I'll give them food and water, but we'll do that. I didn't really even put a dent in them. I still got a handful in there. I still got all my originals up here. So I got button quail coming out of my ears. Half of those are button quail. All of those are button quail. So I'm going to be getting rid of button quail for several months. Trying not to flood the market, but I still have some in the incubator, which I'm done hatching button quail because I need to get rid of some. They just don't sell quite like Coturnix do. These are Coturnix, and I have a bunch of Coturnix down in there. I don't mind growing those out because those are easy to sell, but it is 81 degrees in this building with all these heat lamps going, so it's warm. But I'm going to feed and water everything in here tonight, and then we'll see you bright and early. We got to catch some more roosters and hit the road to the auction. We'll see you guys in the morning. We are loaded to the brim. I'm going to take one of my A-frame coops too to sell. Been needing to sell it for a while, so got that loaded up this morning. Got the roosters in a smaller cage. So 16 more roosters. Everybody should make it. It's only about a 45-minute drive, so we'll see you when we get unloaded. made it back from the chicken auction with a fairly empty trailer. So we took a bunch of stuff we didn't need. I didn't go to sell birds. I didn't go to buy birds necessarily, but I went to really make some money to help pay for some of the farm expenses we have. But I did come home with some roosters, which is kind of counterproductive because I literally took 25, 30 roosters. So like, you're probably asking, why are you buying roosters if you took roosters? Well, these are Rhode Island Red roosters, and I have a plan for them. So I needed purebred Rhode Island Reds. So that's what I got. Other than that, I came home with a bunch of empty cages, which is perfect. Less food I have to feed here on the farm. Make a little bit of cash to help offset my feed bill and all my upkeep on the farm. So what I'm going to do is whenever I buy birds from an auction, I usually quarantine them. That way if they're sick or something, they don't bring something to my farm. One thing I always do is I put 7 powder. If you can't get a hold of 7 powder, diatomaceous earth is virtually the same thing. It'll kill all the mites and lice and anything that these birds will have when they come. But I'm pretty picky on what I buy. I make sure they're pretty healthy. I don't buy anything that looks like it's going to be sick or anything, but these are all young roosters, and I'm going to dust them and throw them into the grow out pen here. And there's nothing really on this side of the pen. There's a couple hens, but they're going to go out tomorrow, so I'm not worried about them. So, but yeah, that's what we bought at the auction. I'm going to get this done real quick so the roosters are no longer in these cages. Then I'll sit down and talk about prices, because I tell you what, the price of birds right now is ridiculous. So stay tuned. Give me just a second. Let me dust these guys. That right there is what's called a zombie chicken. It's an Iam Cemani with a Leghorn cross. One of those zombie chickens brought $80 today at the auction. That white chicken right there, a zombie, like $80. This is crazy. All right, I just wanted to show you that chicken. I should have taken her if I would have known that. But I got my ticket here. Let me set you up. All right, so I'm gonna go through here real quick. I'm not gonna talk about the auction that much. I mean, it's a poultry auction. They sell everything from goats to sheep, mostly birds, geese, ducks, guineas, quail, pigeons, pheasants. They've sold emus there. So they'll sell anything, but mostly poultry of all shapes and sizes, ages, chicks, hatching eggs, you name it, they sell it. They're getting to where they're selling a few more goats and sheep than normal, but it's in Kansas. I'm not going to tell you where it's at, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. But this one is on Saturday. Next month is on a Saturday, but most of the time it's on the last Friday of every month. So, but other than that, I'm going to break down what I took and what I sold. And so I took 16 roosters, sex-link roosters that were 6 months old. Those brought $7.50 a piece. 2 of my turkeys one brought $40, and one brought $35, or 2 brought $35 and 1 brought $40. So that's pretty standard. Toms usually bring 30 or so. Nothing out of the normal there. The roosters, $7.50 a piece, I felt like was a little bit high for what they were. Most people there buying roosters are looking at the weight. The heavier they are, the more they're worth, usually because they're going to eat them. I took 4 silky roosters. They brought $15 a piece. The buff Brahma rooster, lavender Americana rooster, and Erminette rooster I took brought $8 a piece. Or no, they brought $12 a piece. A Delaware rooster and the Barred Rock roosters brought $8 a piece. That's pretty standard for roosters. Maybe a little bit high, but not much. They were big, heavy birds. I took 4 Easter egg or olive egg roosters, and they brought $6 a piece. Like I said, people aren't buying my roosters for breeders, even though they are good breeding stock. They're mostly going to a market that eats roosters. All right, so I took 3 Australorp pullets that just started laying. They literally laid 2 eggs in the cage while we were there. They brought $57.50 a piece, times 3. So, and then I took 9 Rhode Island Red roosters, 3 to a cage. I presented the cages good. They had food and water. They had hay. Presentation kind of helps, but they were as good as they were going to get. And the first 3 brought $62.50 a piece, and the last 6 brought $54 a piece. I took 2 yellow golden males. They brought $30 a piece. 1 Jones silver pheasant hen. She brought $40. I took 4 or 8 Serama chicks, 3 blue partridge Brahma chicks, and 2 lavender Americana chicks, and they brought $7 a piece. They were 3 weeks old, or 3 days, yeah, 3 weeks old. Excuse me. Hatching eggs, a dozen silky hatching eggs, and another dozen that was split, 6 Seramas, 6 silkies, which you saw me collect. They brought $13 a dozen. A dozen button quail eggs only brought $2 a dozen. Now I took 40 button quail. 12 of them sold for $6 a piece. 16 of them sold for $5 a piece. And 12 of them sold for $4 a piece. So I felt like that was pretty good. Knowing I still have 150 of them here, I wasn't too worried about those prices. So all in all, my stuff sold. Oh, I took the chicken coop, that A-frame chicken coop I had for 6 years. I've used and abused it. It was kind of one of my original breeder pens, and I only got $40 for it. That was kind of a letdown. You couldn't build it anywhere close to $40, and it was still a solid coop. But I wasn't going to no-sell it and haul it home. I'm a firm believer if you take something to an auction, it sells at the auction. I'm not a big fan of people that no-sell stuff, because I'm usually the one with the highest bid, and I'm getting a heck of a deal, and then the seller no-sells it, which drives me nuts. The roosters I bought 6 Rhode Island Red roosters, young roosters, probably 5 months old, at $7 a piece, and then the big Rhode Island Red rooster that's probably a year and a half old for $18 a piece. So let me double check that. $7, $16 for the big rooster. I'm not afraid to overpay for something I'm going to use to breed with, but I'm not going to overpay for something I don't need. So with that being said, there were some chickens there that brought outrageous money. And I say outrageous like it's just not normal amounts of money. Now, that zombie buff-laced Wyandottes, now they had them labeled as blue-laced red Wyandottes. There's a couple different color variations of blue-laced red Wyandottes. I believe the dark blue chicken with the red dots is the true blue-laced red Wyandottes. There weren't any of those there, but the splash-laced Wyandotte, which some people call blue-laced reds, they brought anywhere from $70 to $100 a hen. So it's just crazy. What I call battery hens, which are hens that were used for egg production and then sold at 15 months, there was a bunch of those there, and they brought anywhere from $20 to $60 a piece, which is crazy. You used to be able to buy those for $2 a piece last year. By the hundreds, as many as you wanted, $2, $3 a piece. And they were bringing $20 to $60. The problem is there's just a lot of new people getting into the chickens, and they don't understand quality on age and breeds that are good for certain things. You know, a lot of people are buying Silkies for $60, $70, $80 a piece, and they want a good laying chicken. Well, Silkie's not a good laying chicken. It's a good fluffy chicken. That's about it. They do lay eggs, but they're not high-end yielding egg chickens. So, but there was peacocks. I felt like peacocks were doing good. I'm not in the peacock circle, so I don't know a ton about peacocks, but there was a lot of them bringing over 100 to 150 bucks, which I feel like is fair. Like I said, the rooster market was solid. Guineas were still running $15 to $20 a piece, which is fair. You know, as soon as we start getting bugs and warm weather, those things will almost double in money. As soon as the bugs come out, people just will pay whatever it takes to get guineas. So other than that, the laying hen market was insane. A lot of Rhode Island red pullets like what I had, bringing $50 to $70. Barred rocks up there too, that $40 to $60 range. The problem with auction is a lot of people, there's only a handful of people at auctions like me that take quality. Most people are taking stuff they don't need anymore or is too old and laying. And so you can kind of find some lemons there. And, you know, if you don't know what you're looking for, you can kind of get screwed. Now, with that being said, there's a handful of guys like me that's where they make their feed money, is at those auctions. So we take good quality stuff. A lot of people at these auctions know me and know my birds, and I'm always standing around feeding and watering my birds, so they always strike up conversation with me. So a lot of people will drop off their birds and leave because they don't want to be seen with them. I'll be more than happy to stand next to my birds and stand behind my birds. So, and that helps. A lot of times that brings a few more bucks. But other than that, I don't think the chicken prices are going to go down. I was kind of shocked on chicks. There were a handful of chicks there, not a bunch, but they only brought $3 to $7 or $8 a piece, which is, I feel like, is fairly low, being that the chicks in the store are only lasting like 12 hours. Like, they're selling out so fast in the store. But yet at the auction, they're only bringing a couple bucks. Now you got to be careful buying auctions. Like today is 60 degrees. So a lot of people that brought like day old chicks, you got to be careful if they're leaving them in boxes outside at 60 degrees. They need 90 to 95 degree temperatures for the first couple days. So you can run into some death loss if you're buying young chicks. I wasn't going to take anything that wasn't 3 weeks old. And even then, those birds were fully feathered for the most part. They were in a thick cardboard box with ventilation, and I kept them inside the office until it was time to sell. So I feel like those chicks are going to do fine. The people that sold day-old chicks that were tiny, there were some people there with day-old Coturnix quail, which those are very fragile. So they may survive. I don't know. I wasn't going to buy them. But other than that, I suggest everybody attend a chicken auction and see what it's all about. It's a lot of fun. I've met some great friends there that I get to see every month and BS with. And, you know, they're a great group of guys. We're all like-minded. We're all just raising chickens and having a good old time at it. Dozens and dozens of great people there at the auctions. And I'm fortunate enough I get to travel around to several different auctions throughout the state. And that one's always my favorite, just because it's somewhat close to home, and I get to see my same guys and gals every month. So if you do go to that auction and you see me, stop and say hello. I love chatting. I love talking chickens. But yeah, go to a chicken auction. They're all over the place. Pretty much every state has them that I know of, especially in the Midwest. Go see what they're all about. Meet people, talk to people. Don't necessarily go to buy, just go to learn. If you're new to chickens, they're a great place to learn about chickens. You see all sorts of breeds, all sorts of varieties. You get to see everything, and you kind of get a good idea of what the going rate is. I was selling those Rhode Island Reds here from the farm for $50 a piece. And when I posted them for sale, the amount of people that asked how much they cost, and I told them $50 a piece, 99% of them said, "You're way overcharging at $50 a piece." And my response was, well, that's fair market value. If I was to take those chickens to auction, I feel like I would get $50 a piece. I'd be leaving money on the table if I sold them on the farm for anything less than $50 a piece. I don't need to sell those pullets. I have an egg market that I have egg customers I need to sell to. My egg numbers are going up, so I don't need near as many, but my egg customers are not going up. So I can offload a couple hens. So $50 a piece is about the going rate for a good quality laying pullet. I took them to the auction and got more than $50 a piece. Now I lose a little on commission, but it was still more than $50 a piece. And so anybody that yells at you, you're charging way too much. For those people, all I say is, you're welcome to buy chicks in the fall at $3, $4 a chick, $5 a chick. You're more than welcome. Nobody's stopping you from buying chickens in the fall, wintering them all winter, feeding them, housing them, keeping them alive from predators, keeping them alive from frostbite, and everything that goes with it for 4 months over the winter, and selling them for $50 a piece or fair market value. Nobody's stopping you. So don't come at me complaining about a price when you could have done it. That's what I say. Now, maybe that's harsh, maybe it's not, but I raised 150 pullets over the winter, which took a substantial amount of time, feed, and I lost a few because, that's just part of it. You're always going to lose a few chickens when you're raising big numbers. And so that all eats into my profit margin. So nobody's stopping you from doing exactly what I'm doing. Now, you may live in town and you can only have so many birds or blah, 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 blah. Nobody's stopping you from living in town. You can go buy land in the country. It may be expensive, but nobody's stopping you. I mean, there's a lot of things you can say, well, I couldn't do it. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, then don't complain about somebody else that is. So anyway, that's my soapbox. I'll get off of it. This video is probably way too long. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. We love you. Go to an auction. Support your local chicken farmer. Don't complain about egg prices. We love you. See you guys.